His avoidance of the many difficulties, sticking points and costs suggests that Great Britain is still a long way from a balanced and well-considered debate about the structure of relations with the EU, said the political scientist Simon Usherwood of the Open University to the German press agency. Because Brexit is far from done, as Johnson himself admitted indirectly. But let's talk about the whole thing. Let's talk about trade. Of the treaties that the Prime Minister is now highlighting, only one deal with Australia has so far been completely renegotiated. Another with New Zealand is imminent. The rest ultimately reflects the EU treaties. But there is great dissatisfaction with the new treaties. British farmers fear being driven out of the market by cheap meat from Australia and New Zealand. And the most important project, a free trade agreement with the USA, is a long way off. So let's talk about bureaucracy. Indeed, some industries benefit as recognized by an EU country diplomat in London. Autonomous driving or artificial intelligence are two areas in which there would be more options without strict EU rules, but these are only niches, he says. In fact, the bureaucracy has increased, and for a year now trading has become more difficult because of the necessary documentation. Since the beginning of last year, Great Britain has also been this year, some imports from the European Union more strictly. The trade of smaller companies with the EU takes permanent damage, fears the Frozen Food Association BFFF. And let's talk about you, the consumers. The trade problems have a tangible impact. The majority of fresh food comes from the EU. Shelves remained empty. Since Brexit, it has been more difficult for skilled workers to enter the country because of expensive work visas. This affects many industries in which mainly EU citizens previously worked, from transport to meat processing to gastronomy. And let's talk about Brexiteer favorite, the migration. Interior Minister Priti Patel is aiming for quality over quantity. Patel wants to stop the unhindered freedom of movement and thus implement a central demand of the Brexiteers. Instead, the brightest minds should come. But so far, there has been no application for a new special visa for scientific award winners. To Patel's displeasure, many migrants continue to cross the English Channel illegally. Yeah, the Dublin Accord is a good thing, isn't it? The Independent commented that this was Johnson's biggest challenge in the new year. And let's talk about economy. The pandemic is still overshadowing many Brexit worries. A clear assessment of the extent to which the exit from the EU is responsible for empty coffers and enormous tax increases is still pending. The Supervisory Authority Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, has come to the conclusion that leaving the EU will reduce the gross domestic product, the GDP, by 4%. The pandemic had dropped it by 2%. And let's talk about Northern Ireland. There is still no agreement on the status of the region, which de facto continues to follow the rules of the EU Customs Union. This should avoid a hard border with the EU member Ireland and new conflicts in the former Civil War region. But in fact, an intra-British customs border has arisen, but just for goods. This is a thorn in the side of London, which is why Johnson wants to renegotiate the self-signed agreement. It does not fit into the picture for him that the current regulation has brought a boom to the Northern Irish economy. Because companies can easily trade with the UK and the EU. They have an advantage over their other UK competitors. Johnson did not mention Northern Ireland on New Year's, but he celebrated the reintroduction of the old standard, the crown stamp. If crowns on pint glasses are more important than the status of Northern Ireland, it is hard to imagine that this government will turn away from its long-held neuroses about Brexit, said expert Usherwood. This also includes the disturbed relation with the EU. A rapprochement is not in sight, wrote the expert Anand Menon recently. Cooperation with the old partner is not mentioned in the Brexit agreement, and the British government does not seem to be interested in cooperation. And Foreign Minister Liz Truss is particularly noticeable because she tries to avoid the word EU. Global Britain is looking for new partners. Yeah, Global Britain, by the way, have a look at my merch. You might find it interesting. Public opinion has changed in surveys. A large proportion of Leave voters, meanwhile, also believe that Brexit was not a good idea. In contrast to his overwhelming election victory in 2019, leaving the EU is no longer a trump card for Johnson, Menon said. Instead, the aftermath both domestically and internationally could soon haunt him. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.